The room is quiet, except for the low hum of an amplifier warming up. At 81, Jimmy Page sits alone, fingers hovering over the strings that once shook the world. The hands that summoned thunder now move slowly, deliberately. He exhales and says something that feels almost forbidden in its honesty. Not every guitarist was a brother. Some were rivals, some were disappointments, and some, no matter how legendary they became, left a sour note that never quite faded. In the mid-1960s, London was boiling with talent. Every club was a battlefield. Every night, another guitarist, trying to prove he was the future. Jimmy Page saw them all. He listened closely, and he remembered the ones who unsettled him the most. Eric Clapton was one of the first. Back then, Clapton was already being called God. Fans whispered his name like scripture. Jimmy respected his blues roots, but something about the worship bothered him. Clapton's purist attitude toward the blues felt limiting, almost judgmental. When Clapton dismissed experimentation, studio layering, and the darker edges Jimmy loved, it felt like a rejection of growth itself. Jimmy never said it publicly at the time, but privately, the tension burned. How could music survive if it refused to evolve? Then there was Jeff Beck. The rivalry cut deeper because it was personal. They both passed through the Yardbirds, both brilliant, both restless. Beck was explosive, unpredictable, brilliant in flashes. Jimmy was controlled, methodical, obsessed with structure. Watching Jeff Beck destroy a guitar on stage felt like watching someone burn a house Jimmy was still trying to build. Jimmy admired Beck's fire, but hated the recklessness. Chaos was exciting, yes, but could it last? And then came Jimi Hendrix. The night Hendrix walked into a London club and picked up a guitar, everything shifted. Jimmy stood in the crowd and felt it immediately. This wasn't competition. This was annihilation. Hendrix played like the instrument had no rules, no gravity. For the first time, Jimmy felt genuinely threatened. Hendrix wasn't copying anyone. He wasn't chasing trends. He was inventing a new language in real time. Jimmy would later admit that Hendrix scared him, not because he was better, but because he made everyone else feel suddenly. Small Pete Townshend was different. Loud, arrogant, endlessly confident, Townshend smashed guitars like statements, not accidents. Jimmy watched The Who from the wings and felt irritation creep in. The spectacle sometimes felt bigger than the music. Pete talked endlessly about ideas, about art, about destruction as meaning. Jimmy believed the guitar should speak for itself. When noise became philosophy, Jimmy tuned out. Was it still music, or just volume masquerading as rebellion? Ritchie Blackmore was another kind of thorn. Technically sharp, classically influenced, and fiercely competitive, Blackmore treated guitar playing like a duel. Precision mattered more than atmosphere. Jimmy respected his discipline but disliked the coldness. Where Jimmy chased mystery, Blackmore chased dominance. Their styles existed in parallel worlds, and neither wanted to cross over. Listening to Blackmore felt like staring at a perfectly sharpened blade, impressive, but emotionally distant. Years later, when Eddie Van Halen exploded onto the scene, Jimmy felt the ground shift again. Eddie's tapping rewrote the rulebook overnight. Suddenly, guitar magazines were filled with diagrams, not feelings. Jimmy listened carefully. He heard brilliance, innovation, speed, beyond belief. But something nagged at him. The focus had shifted from sound to spectacle, from mood to mechanics. He wondered if the soul of the instrument was being buried under technique. Was this evolution, or was something being lost forever? As Jimmy reflects now, his voice carries no venom, just clarity. He admits that hate might be too strong a word. What he felt was pressure, fear, the constant awareness that greatness is never secure. Each of these men forced him to confront his own limits, his own insecurities. They weren't villains. They were mirrors. He pauses, fingers finally pressing down on the strings. A chord rings out, imperfect, human, alive. Jimmy smiles faintly. Without Eric Clapton's purism, would he have pushed experimentation further? Without Jeff Beck's chaos, would he have refined control? Without Jimi Hendrix, would he have chased the edge of the unknown so fiercely? Without Townshend, Blackmore, or Van Halen, would the question of what guitar music should be have burned so brightly? The sound fades into silence, and one question lingers, heavy and unresolved. Do legends rise in isolation, or are they forged by the very rivals they struggle against? And when we listen to the music today, can we hear the echoes of those silent wars still ringing between the notes?